So this is what they look like until you can push it all the way through and ready to pour. Hello, welcome to WayPoint Survival, and welcome to week 4 of the 30-day hobo challenge. Today I'm going to show you how to make a handy-dandy hobo cook set. I think you're going to like it. Stay tuned. All right, so welcome to week 4 of our 30-day hobo challenge. And today I'm going to show you how to make a couple of really cool things, and then I'm going to show you a link to another great item that I made some time ago. I don't want to cram all that into one video. I'll just make sure and put a link to it so you can watch it. It'll be up the top of the video here or down in the description box or both places. But the first thing you're going to need, you're going to want to get a standard, just a soup can, standard size. And then I believe this is a tall number 3 can. This had tomato juice in it and 46 ounces. So just a couple of standard cans, and then when you get this, of course, wash it out good, and you can peel the label off. And if you're in an actual hobo situation, you want to save this label and use it for a fire starter. So don't be throwing any paper away that you can use later for a fire starter. But you do want to clean the paper off for this project. All right, so the first part of our project involves this tall can. And the first thing that we're going to do is we need to take and we need to form a spout. Now do notice that there is a seam on this can. So if you have a seam, you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to start right here in the front, and I'm going to take and I'm going to put a bit of a pressure pinch right across from here using my fingers like this. All right, that popped right there. And what we're just going to do is we're just going to make a spout. Something very simple. Okay, so just like that, and that makes a very easy and very quick pour spout, and as it is, that's pretty useful. But the reason we did that is I need to know where I can put in my wire. Now, I did open this with a safety can opener because I kept the lid, and that's really important for this project, as you will see here in just a little bit. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a large nail. This is a 16 penny nail, about 3.5 inch, something like that. And we're going to put a hole right here in the tin can, just a little bit below the surface. Now, these cans are very easy to do this with. It's not a very thick metal, and once you put it through there, you want to wobble it. Some of you seen me do this before, so not a difficult thing, but we put that hole there, and then we want to go directly to the other side and put another hole in it directly opposite. And then wiggle it around to make it bigger so that when you look through, you can look through it this way, you can see that this hole and this hole line up straight across and perpendicular to our spout. So it should balance pretty easy by holding it on those 2 points. Next, you're going to need a pair of pliers, and you want to just take where this rough edge is here and you want to crimp that down so that doesn't have any sharp edges. You could file it, of course. You could use your hammer and tap it down, but you try not to deform the can too much. All right, just like that. And of course, a pair of pliers is something a hobo would always carry. So that feels relatively smooth on both sides, and that's exactly what we're looking for. You want to go ahead and find a hanger. I've already used this one, but this is a half of a hanger. It could be any kind of wire. I've got some other wire here I'll use in a bit. But you want to take and you want to cut this. Okay, just like that. And then you want to straighten this out to the best of your ability. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just kind of generally straighten it out. Make it look kind of good. All right, so just a piece of straight wire. And once you get that done, you want to take and put a small little J-hook in one end. So just crimp a little J-hook, kind of like that. You can see that. And now I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Brunt Workwear. As many of you know, having proper boots when you're in the outdoors is of the utmost importance. Not only do they provide increased stability and support, but they also provide much better protection for your ankles when you're walking around in rocks or in thorny terrain. Brunt boots are designed to be comfortable right out of the box without having to go through the long and sometimes painful break-in period of a lot of other brands. They have excellent cushioning, and with their waterproof and breathable construction, they're comfortable in all kinds of weather. These particular boots, the Ring Waterproof Comp Toe, have just the features that I look for in a pair of boots. Whether I'm out cutting up some fallen limbs from a storm, cutting firewood for the winter, or just out on a backpacking trip and I need to cross a creek, these boots can do it all. And when it comes time to split that firewood, the safety composite toe gives me peace of mind. On the job, the outsoles are slip, oil, and heat resistant up to 572 degrees Fahrenheit. And they're also EH rated for electrical work if you should need that. If you're looking for comfortable boots that offer a great value, then make sure and check out Brunt. You can even try them out on the job, and if you don't love them, send them back. So if you'd like to try out Brunt boots for yourself or any of the other jackets, pants, and other hard use gear that they offer, make sure and check out the link in the description box below, as well as in the top pinned comment of this video. And when you do order, make sure and use my code WayPoint10 to get $10 off your first order. And once again, I'd like to thank Brunt Workwear for sponsoring this video. Next, you want to get a piece of wood that has a pith in the center. This is a piece of honeysuckle, and it has a pithy center. And you want, when you cut that off, you want to go ahead then and you want to take your blade and kind of chamfer the edges just a little bit, just kind of round this off. Again, doesn't take a whole lot, just a little bit. Just try to make that smoother and keep that from peeling on you. And you don't have to do this step, but it makes it a lot nicer. And you do that to both ends. So once you get that chamfered on both ends, you want to take your wire and find where the pith is, and then go ahead and start working your way through it until you can push it all the way through. You may have to go from both ends. There we go. Until the wire can go all the way through like this. You may have to use your pliers, and you want to go ahead and pull that through, so like so, just like that. And then you want to try and center it as best you can on the wood. Now this one is a little bit curved, and I did that on purpose. Next thing we do is we take that hook and we put it through the outside here like this, so that it's hooked onto the can, and so that this comes around like this. And then we want to take this one straight up and down, and we want to bend it this way. All right, because we want this to go around the back of the can like that. And then we take this side and we bend this up on the other side of the handle, just like that. And you can see what that looks like once we get that bent. And then we put our last and final J-hook right there, and hopefully we've gotten it relatively even. And then that goes in that other hole, just like that. And when you get that in there, take your pliers and crimp that bend down. So when you get that done, you'll have a can with a pour spout and a nice bail handle on the back that is insulated from the heat and the fire. The next thing we need to do is we need to have something that we can use to pour it with, because something that hangs like this, you're always needing to grab it from the bottom to tip it, and that's going to be hot from setting in the fire. So the easiest way to do that is just get some wire. Again, you can use something like this, or you can get another piece of a coat hanger. That would work just fine. And you want to get enough out that you can have enough to go around this at least one time. Okay, so you don't need a huge amount. And again, a couple of old wire hangers will work perfectly for this project. All right, once you get that done, you need to put a loop in the center of this wire. So try to match it, the end for end, about where you want that loop. And you want to put your finger in there and you want to twist like this. Just don't tighten it around your finger too much. You don't need to go around too many times, but just 2 or 3 times. And you can use a stick, you can use all kinds of stuff for this. But the bottom line is you just want a little loop. So just like that, if you can see what that looks like, something very, very simple, and it doesn't need to stick out very far. So we're just, just a little distance. Then we come right to the very back of the can. So right here, but about 1/3 of the way up. And you come around the front like this. And where these 2 ends fasten together, get in there as far as you can. Then you want to twist these together. And you'll use the pliers for this. And this will help set that loop right on the back of your can. Now, depending on what kind of wire you use, you do need to be careful, because you can over tighten this and twist it and break it. But you want it on there tight enough that it's not going to be moving around on you. Okay? and basically centered toward the back of the can. When you finish twisting that, go ahead and bend these ends down and then fold them over and push it in like this. If you want, you can take your hammer, tap it a little bit. It's not necessary, but you want that to be kind of flush if you can to the front. And now, as you see, we've got our handle, and we can take a stick and we can place it there, and now we can pour it. All right, now let me show you how to put the lid on. First, we take our lid that we used from the same can, and this one is used the safety can opener, so there's no sharp edges. Go over top of it just like this, and then where this crimp is, you want to just take your hands and by hand strength start bending this over. Okay, and you can use your hands a little bit here to get it started, kind of like that. The idea here is we want it to fit over top of this right here. Now you're going to have to fiddle with this a little bit to get it to go on there fairly straight. It's not going to be perfect at first, so just take your time and mess with it. I'm going to do that off the camera, but that's basically how you get it started. Again, you're going to have something like that, and it's going to go right here. Okay, so basically once you get that fit on there where it will sit on the back of the can and cover the top pretty well, you can feel when that seats in. What you're going to do is you're going to take your nail and you're going to put another hole, the first one in the very back of the lid, directly opposite of your fold. And you're going to do the same thing to the can in the back, directly opposite of the spout. Of course, you crimp all those sharp edges down like I showed you before on the handle. Okay, so that's nice and smooth, doesn't have any bad spots. And then you're going to need a little piece of wire, just a real small little piece of wire, and you can cut this long to begin with and you can trim it off later. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a circle out of this. So just take your pliers, and you want, like I said, some relatively soft wire for this. We're just going to go around. We're going to make what's basically a snipe hinge. You can always close it up later. But you get that kind of into a semicircular shape. You can see that. And then what we do is we go up through the can like this and through the lid, bring it on back, and then close that loop off. Okay, so when you're done, you're going to have something that looks like that, and it's going to be a loose lid that can just come off easy, but because of where it's folded, it's going to sit on top, and it's going to allow your can to have a lid which will keep leaves and debris and ashes and soot and all that out of your can, and it's going to allow it to boil quicker. So you can see here we've got our pot, lid, handle, and spout, and ready to pour. And of course, to do this, you could use some pliers or a stick. Like I said, you wouldn't have to necessarily hold it. And you wouldn't have to put this handle on here if you don't want to. If you're having it in the fire, it's going to burn off anyway. But again, it's easy to replace. But that's how you make a coffee pot. Okay, so this next item is something that you've seen before if you've watched my channel for a long time. This is the tin can fry pan. And I'll make sure and put a link to it so you can watch it. And this is a very easily made frying pan from a number 10 tin can and a couple of pop rivets. And I show you how to do that in detail. This is designed so that you can put a stick in each one of these ears like this. And then they cross like that. And that's how you cook with it. So this is your handy dandy frying pan. Lid comes off. And I do demonstrate in the video how to cook an egg with this and show you how to make the whole thing. So you'll definitely want to get this as part of your hobo cookware. If you've not seen this or made one of these, you're definitely going to want to know how to do that. All right, for this next part, you're going to take your regular soup can that we talked about, and then we're going to need a couple of feet of this wire. So again, this doesn't have to be perfect. This is just a guess. You can always cut off what you don't need. So for those of you who live in countries where you're using the metric system, you're going to want about 2/3 of a meter. So again, just a rough estimate, and cut that. All right, so we have that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to the top of the can and up to about this section here. And again, trying to match the ends as close as possible. You want to make sure that this is relatively close and bent around the can. And once you get that tight, you want to start twisting. Cross these over and twist. You can use the can for that. There's different ways you can twist. Once you get that started, then you'll use the pliers, and you want to make sure that that's nice and tight. And you'll want to put several twists on here until it comes out just a little ways. You want to come out about that far. Next, you want to get another piece of your honeysuckle and go ahead and put a hole in that, just like we showed you before. Now, you may have to drill that out a little bit, or you can take the end of this and smash that flat, make a little bit of a spade bit, because this hole needs to be wide enough to accommodate the double wire. And you're going to put that together. Make sure these ends are as close as you can get them. And then you're going to slide this on here like this, all the way up to where those bends are. And then you're going to tilt it down just like that. And then right here, we're going to twist it right here at the bottom. This is going to hold this. So at the bottom of our handle, we're going to start twisting it again. And again, you want to use wire that's not too terribly hard. You can use copper wire for this, actually. So from a piece of copper line. And we want to make sure that these bends are about the same length as this. Again, pliers, very handy. Save your hands and make the work look a lot neater. When we get that about the same length, we'll flatten this out so that this can go against the can. And we're going to bend this over just like that. So this could go against the can like this, and then around the front. And if you've measured this right, you'll have enough sticking out that you'll be able to cross this and start twisting again. Make sure to twist that nice and tight. Looks like that. And then just bend these little ears over, crimp them down like so. And once you get that nice and tight, you want to fold this in as well, over, down, it doesn't matter. You can tap it with the pliers, or you can just lightly hit it like that, put it on something like this. You can push down. Anything you can do to get that relatively flat without collapsing your can too much. And if you do put a little too much of a bend in it, you can take a stick or the hammer handle or something like that, and you can push that back out a little bit, and that will make that round again. All right, and you can see what we have here. We now have a nice handle, and if this is a little loose for you, if this moves around a little too much, all you have to do is take your pliers and twist a little bit more. Tighten that up. Make sure it's straight up and down on the can. And now we have a handy dandy coffee cup. We won't burn our hands on the handle, and makes it just perfect for use around camp. All right, so here's what they all look like. Our cup, our pot, coffee and soup, and the tin can fry pan that I showed you in the last, well, quite a few years ago video now. But anyway, this works great. Fantastic coffee pot, great coffee cup, and all made very cheap and very easy with just some basic tools. So then you take all your items and you put them in an old cotton gunny sack or a seed sack or something like that, and stick it in your pack. Now remember, the next video that we're going to do on the 30-day Hobo Challenge, this 4-week series, is we're going to be taking this gear, the pack sack, the tent, the sleeping bag, and this cook set, and we're going to go out and we're going to do an overnighter using these items. So you make sure and stay tuned for that. Also, I have a little special for you. I went out in a very bad rainstorm. As a matter of fact, they were calling for tornadoes. And I went in my tent that I made out of a bed sheet. I want to show you how that works with the waterproofing that we did. So make sure and stay tuned for that special video. This is James Bender for WayPoint Survival. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also make sure and check out the links in the description box below, just under the More button. While you're down there, you'll find the link for our WayPoint Survival digital class. This is where you can train in the comfort and convenience of your own backyard. The top 20 skills that we consider to be the most important from our Phase 1 Survival and Bushcraft class. You'll also find where you can sign up for our WayPoint Survival and Prepping 101 newsletter. And that's a great way for us to stay in touch with you in case something happens to this platform. Absolutely chock full of great ideas sent to your inbox at least once a week, if not more often. You'll also find the link for waypointsurvival.com, which is where you can sign up to take in-person classes at our beautiful training facility here in Southern Ohio. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And when you do subscribe, make sure and press that bell button so that you can stay notified of all of our upcoming videos. And we'll talk to you next time.